Renee Reeves.
Yeah, sorry about that. If everyone's all set. I want to start tonight off with a question. When was the last time you made eye contact with a panhandler? If you're like most people, that question's not a comfortable one to answer honestly. It certainly wasn't for me. For years, I passed by and looked the other direction, but that became much more difficult when I moved to Albuquerque. Here, I see homeless men and women pushing shopping carts filled with their belongings from my bedroom window. I sit behind them on Sunday mornings, and I pass by them on my way to class as they sleep beneath trees on campus. They're hard to ignore, and yet so many of us do. Most of us consider the people who live on our streets to be dirty, unsightly, and we take steps to actively avoid them. Perhaps thinking, it's sad, but it's not my problem. I want to challenge that. This is our community, and it is our problem. So today we're going to look at homelessness in New Mexico, how we currently respond to it, and how we should be responding to it. Homelessness in the United States is heavily stigmatized. The Anti-Defamation League lists dirty, smelly, scary, criminal, single man, drug addict, and many other negative adjectives as common stereotypes that are applied to homeless people. But like most stereotypes, these are not true, and the statistics paint an entirely different picture. In 2012, the city of Albuquerque released a homeless needs assessment, and the results were revealing. 35% of New Mexico's homeless are children, with children under the age of 5 vastly overrepresented. Another 30% are adult women, and a full 50% of all homeless adults have been victims of domestic violence. These statistics fly in the face of a common stereotype, that homeless people are in their situation willingly. The truth is, people are in their cars or on the streets because they can't afford to sleep anywhere else. In the words of the Barrett Foundation, a nonprofit serving New Mexico, familial homelessness is complicated, systemic, and widespread. However, it is largely driven by the inability of low-income families to make rent. Our homeless population in Albuquerque covers at about 1,000, but according to the 2012 needs assessment, there are 32,000 people in the greater Albuquerque area who are at risk of becoming homeless at the drop of a hat. This means that for every panhandler you see downtown, there are 32 people in Albuquerque on the cusp of homelessness. Other myths about homelessness simply don't stand up to scrutiny. A 2012 report found that most people who are homeless are employed or have been within the past 30 days. And most people who are homeless are sleeping in their cars and not on the streets. The Department of Urban Housing and Development found that most people are temporarily homeless, not displaced for more than a year. But these myths that we've internalized affect the way that we see and treat others. Lasana Harris and Susan Fisk from Princeton University conducted a study in 2002 that found that when we are disgusted by someone, our brains actually process them differently. Less like humans and more like objects. Neurologically, we dehumanize them. Now, one individual dehumanizing another does not have an immediate, tangible effect. But the impacts that othering and dehumanization have on the homeless population as a whole are vastly negative and sometimes deadly. I'm reminded of the story of James Boyd, a man who tried to camp in the Sandia Mountains after the shelter he was staying in closed for the season. The ensuing protests after his murder sent tear gas streaming in through the windows of the building I live in now. Or in 2014, how 3 teenagers brutally murdered 2 men sleeping in a vacant lot. And reportedly, the year before, they assaulted 50 other homeless people. The director of the National Coalition for the Homeless says that violence against the homeless is increasing in the United States. And Dr. Jeremy Reynolds, founder of the Albuquerque shelter Joy Junction, points out that most crimes against the homeless in Albuquerque go unreported, as the victims distrust the police so strongly. Problems with violence, drug addiction, hunger, and homelessness itself are much bigger than us, and they have their roots deep within the community. So one person can't solve any of these problems. Then what do? I believe the answer is changing one habit, how we interact with homeless people on a daily basis. In his book, The Power of Habit, Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business, Charles Duhigg introduces the concept of a keystone habit, one good habit that can have exponential benefits. A tiny tweak to the system can have a huge impact, as long as that tweak is to a keystone habit. So let's consider our habitual response to someone asking us for help on the street. Most of us have good intentions, but when someone asks for help, we simply don't know how to respond. Our confusion covers a lot of different emotions. Confusion, guilt, compassion, maybe wishing that if we ignore the problem, it will go away. And the result of our confusion, however unintentional, is that we dehumanize another person by treating them like another crack in the sidewalk. We contribute to the othering and ostracization that these people experience on a daily basis. So, what's the solution? Well, if dehumanization is part of the problem, then humanization is part of the solution. Benjamin Hidalgo defines humanization as the process by which one person relates to another in a manner that affirms her or his humanity and human potential. We need to stop treating people on the street like objects and start treating them like humans, full of potential and mistakes and life. What does this look like in real life? A lot of people are uncomfortable with giving change to strangers or taking their wallets out on a busy street. And that's fine. There are other ways to help. Ray Chamberlain, a formerly homeless writer, says that simply making eye contact and mouthing sorry is better than pretending that someone doesn't exist. Now, if you want to give, do. If you're still not comfortable with the idea of giving money to strangers on the street, consider keeping small products around, on your person or in your car. Socks, granola bars, water bottles are all useful things to have. Now, of course, if you're so inclined, there are other bigger ways to help, like volunteering at a shelter or doing pro bono consulting. But while I encourage you to give food or time or effort, I don't want you to lose track of the main point. Simple kindness is key. If you're serving at a shelter on Tuesday night and ignoring people who ask for help on Wednesday morning, you've missed the point. Good habits breed good habits in ourselves and in others, but they take time and effort. So I encourage you to approach small, intentional acts of kindness towards the homeless as a simple habit that you can begin to make. It doesn't have to cost you time or money, but it can open the door for immeasurable change. Homelessness may be an epidemic in our community, but so is the othering of and violence against the homeless. We must solve the second epidemic before we ever have a chance at solving the first. Thank you.